I need another drink, I muttered, staring at the elegant place card in my hands. The gold embossed letters seemed to mock me. Sarah Mitchell, table 23. I was 32 years old, vice president at a Fortune 500 company, and my little sister had just seated me with the catering staff at the wedding I paid for. Let me back up. I'm Sarah Mitchell, and 6 months ago, my sister Emma came to me in tears. She and her fiancé James had lost their wedding savings in a bad investment. Their dream venue, the prestigious Rosewood Manor, was threatening to cancel their reservation without the full payment within 48 hours. Please, Sarah, Emma had sobbed in my office that day. You're the only one who can help. Mom and Dad can barely cover their own bills, and James's family isn't wealthy. I'll pay you back, I promise. I should have known better. Growing up, Emma had always been the family princess. Whatever Emma wanted, Emma got. When we were kids, she threw tantrums until our parents gave in. When we were teenagers, she'd manipulate situations until she came out on top. But she was still my baby sister, and I'd always tried to protect her. How much do you need? I'd asked, already pulling up my banking app. Emma had slid a piece of paper across my desk. I nearly choked when I saw the number. $75,000. It's not just the venue, she explained quickly. It's everything, the flowers, the catering, the dress, the band. James and I want it to be perfect. I should have said no. I should have suggested a smaller wedding, a different venue, anything else. But Emma's tears were flowing freely now, and I remembered how she'd always dreamed of her perfect wedding day. Okay, I said softly. I'll transfer the money today. Emma had squealed, throwing her arms around me. You're the best sister ever. I'll never forget this. She was right about one thing. I'd never forget what happened next. Over the next 6 months, I watched as my savings funded Emma's fairy tale. The designer dress from Paris. The exotic flowers flown in from Hawaii. The Michelin-starred catering team. The 16-piece orchestra. Every time I questioned an expense, Emma would remind me how I'd promised to help and how I was trying to ruin her special day. I kept telling myself it would be worth it to see my sister happy. Besides, I could afford it. After 15 years of hard work, smart investments, and living below my means, I had built a comfortable nest egg. Yes, $75,000 was a significant chunk, but Emma had promised to pay me back in monthly installments. The morning of the wedding, I arrived early at Rosewood Manor. The historic mansion was transformed into a wonderland of white roses and twinkling lights. Emma looked stunning in her custom gown, every inch the princess she'd always wanted to be. Sarah, she called out when she saw me. Thank God you're here. The florist is asking about final payment. I signed another check without complaint. What was another $1,000 at this point? The ceremony was beautiful. Emma and James exchanged heartfelt vows under an arch of white roses. Our parents cried in the front row. I sat in the third row, next to some distant cousins I barely knew. It wasn't until the reception that everything fell apart. I'd assumed I'd be seated at the family table. After all, I was the bride's only sister. Instead, I found myself searching the elegant table arrangements in growing confusion. Table 1, immediate family. Table 2, James's family. Tables 3 through 22, friends and relatives. Finally, at the very back of the ballroom, I found table 23. It was pushed against the kitchen doors, clearly meant for the catering staff taking their breaks. My place card sat there, along with those of the bartenders and servers. There must be a mistake, I said, approaching Emma at the head table. She was holding court like a queen, surrounded by her bridesmaids. Oh, that. Emma's perfect smile didn't quite reach her eyes. No mistake. We had to seat you somewhere, and all the family tables were full. Besides, you're always going on about how you worked as a waitress in college. I thought you'd feel right at home. Her bridesmaids tittered. I felt my face flush. Emma, I paid for this entire wedding. She rolled her eyes. And you haven't let anyone forget it. Maybe if you'd spent less time working and more time having a life, you'd have actual friends to sit with. I stood there stunned. The sister I protected all our lives, the one I'd just spent $75,000 on, was publicly humiliating me at her own wedding. You know what? I said quietly. You're right, I don't have many friends. I've been too busy working to support this family, paying Mom and Dad's medical bills, covering your college tuition, and now funding this ridiculous spectacle. Emma's smile faltered. You're making a scene. No, I replied, reaching for the microphone on the nearby DJ stand. I'm about to make a scene. The microphone felt heavy in my hand. Around me, conversations quieted as wedding guests turned to stare. Emma's face had gone from smug to panic-stricken in seconds. Sarah, don't, she hissed, reaching for the microphone. But I stepped back, my heel catching slightly on the expensive carpet I paid for. Good evening, everyone, I said, my voice surprisingly steady. For those who don't know me, I'm Sarah Mitchell, the bride's sister, and I have a story to tell. Mom stood up from the family table, her face pale. Sarah, please, not now. But 15 years of being the family doormat have finally reached its breaking point. I pulled out my phone, opened my banking app, and began to read. June 15th, transfer to Rosewood Manor, $25,000 deposit. June 16th, transfer to La Belle Couture Paris, $12,000 for the wedding dress. June 20th, transfer to Elite Florals, $8,000 for flowers. June 25th. Stop it, Emma shrieked, but I continued. July 3rd, transfer to Symphony Orchestra, $5,000. July 10th, transfer to Divine Catering, $15,000. And that's just the beginning. The ballroom had fallen completely silent. Even the catering staff at table 23 had stopped their work to listen. You see, I continued, my voice breaking slightly, my sister Emma has always been the family princess. When she needed college tuition, I paid it. When she crashed her car last year, I bought her a new one. When she and James lost their wedding savings, guess who stepped in? James stood up now, his face red. Emma told me her inheritance paid for the wedding. I laughed, a hollow sound that echoed through the silent ballroom. Inheritance? Our parents are still alive and are living on Social Security. No, James, your perfect wedding was funded by your sister-in-law's life savings, the sister-in-law you just seated with the kitchen staff. Sarah, Dad called out, his voice pleading. We can discuss this in private. Like we discussed Emma maxing out your credit cards. Or how about when she borrowed Mom's wedding ring and pawned it? We never discuss anything in this family. We just pretend everything's fine while I write checks. Emma was crying now, mascara running down her cheeks. You're ruining my wedding. No, Emma. You ruined it yourself. You know what the worst part is? I would have given you everything I had if you'd just shown a little gratitude, a little respect. Instead, you treated me like an ATM and then tried to humiliate me. I turned to address the shocked wedding guests. I apologize for disrupting your evening. Please enjoy the champagne. I paid for that too. In fact, I reached into my clutch and pulled out an envelope. Here's my final gift to the happy couple. I opened the envelope and held up a stack of papers. This is a complete record of everything I've spent on this wedding. Grand total, $75,842.67. And this, I pulled out another document, is the loan agreement Emma signed, promising to pay me back in monthly installments. Emma's face went from red to white. You wouldn't. I already did. I filed it with the county court last week. You see, I finally realized something. You've never faced consequences for your actions. Mom and Dad always cleaned up your messes, then I took over, but not anymore. James was staring at Emma. You told me your parents were wealthy, that they were funding everything. You said Sarah was jealous of our happiness. That's why we had to seat her in the back. She's lying. Emma screamed. Sarah's just bitter because she's alone and successful while I found love. Is she lying? Mom asked quietly. All eyes turned to her. Emma, did Sarah really pay for everything? For the first time, I saw my sister's confident facade crack completely. She looked around the room, saw the judgmental stares, the whispers, the phones recording everything. I was going to pay her back, she whispered. Like you paid back the $30,000 I gave you for college? I asked. Or the $45,000 car, or Mom's wedding ring. One of Emma's bridesmaids gasped. Another quickly gathered her purse and slipped away from the head table. Mr. and Mrs. Mitchell, James said, his voice shaking. I had no idea. Emma told me her family was wealthy, that everything was taken care of. I would never have agreed to such expensive arrangements if I'd known. Of course you wouldn't, I said softly, because you're actually a decent person, James. That's why Emma had to lie to you too. I placed the microphone back on the DJ stand. The silence in the ballroom was deafening. Then, from table 23, Someone started clapping. I turned to see Maria, the head of catering, standing up. "Miss Mitchell," she said, "we'd be honored if you join us for dinner. Unlike some people, we know how to show gratitude." I smiled, my first genuine smile of the evening. "Thank you, Maria. I think I will." As I walked toward table 23, the whispers began. People were checking their phones, no doubt posting about the drama on social media. Emma's perfect wedding was turning into a viral nightmare. "Sarah, wait." It was Mom, hurrying after me. "We need to fix this." I turned to face her. "No, Mom. For once, we're going to let Emma fix her own mess. I'm done being the family savior." "But she's your sister." "Yes, she is. And I love her. But love shouldn't mean letting someone take advantage of you. Love shouldn't mean accepting disrespect and humiliation." Mom's eyes filled with tears. "When did we go so wrong?" "When you taught Emma that her feelings were the only ones that mattered. When you taught me that being a good sister meant sacrificing everything for her." I took a deep breath. "But that's over now." I could see Emma being comforted by her remaining bridesmaids, while James stood apart, still staring at the loan agreement in his hands. Dad was talking quietly with James's parents, probably trying to do damage control. "I should go," I said. "Enjoy the rest of the wedding, Mom. I hear the cake is excellent. It should be. It cost $2,000. As I settled in at table 23, Maria handed me a glass of champagne. "I've worked hundreds of weddings," she said, "but I've never seen anything like this." "Neither have I," I replied, taking a sip. "And I hope I never do again." The rest of the evening passed in a blur. I ate dinner with the catering staff, who turned out to be wonderful company. They shared stories of other wedding disasters they'd witnessed, making me laugh for the first time that day. Around midnight, as the last guests were leaving, Emma approached table 23. Her perfect makeup was gone, her eyes red from crying. "Can we talk?" she asked quietly. I looked at my empty champagne glass, then back at my sister. "I think we said everything that needs to be said." "Please, Sarah, I need my big sister." I stood up, smoothing my dress. "No, Emma, what you need is to grow up. The loan payments start next month. Don't be late." As I walked out of Rosewood Manor, I felt lighter somehow. Years of resentment and obligation were falling away with each step. My phone was buzzing with messages, from relatives, from Emma's friends, from James, but I ignored them all. In my car, I finally let myself cry. Not for the money, not for the humiliation, but for the relationship with my sister that would never be the same. Yet mixed with the tears was a strange sense of relief. For the first time in my adult life, I was putting myself first. The week after the wedding was chaos. Videos of my confrontation with Emma went viral on social media. Local news stations tried to contact me for interviews. Even my company's PR department had to issue a statement asking reporters to respect my privacy. I took a week off work, changed my phone number, and stayed in my apartment, processing everything that had happened. The only person I responded to was James, who sent me a long email apologizing and expressing his shock at Emma's deception. "I had no idea about any of this," he wrote. "Emma told me her family was wealthy, that you were just jealous of our relationship. I feel sick knowing that you spent your savings on our wedding, only to be treated so poorly. I'm speaking with a lawyer about my options." I felt bad for him. James was a good guy who'd been caught in Emma's web of lies. He didn't deserve this. 10 days after the wedding, Mom showed up at my apartment. I almost didn't answer the door, but something in her voice when she called out made me relent. "We need to talk," she said as I let her in. She looked older somehow, tired in a way I'd never seen before. "About what?" I asked, gesturing for her to sit on my couch. "About how Emma's been crying nonstop? About how Dad's blood pressure is through the roof? Or about how I've supposedly destroyed the family?" Mom shook her head. "About how I failed both my daughters." That wasn't what I expected to hear. "I've been doing a lot of thinking," she continued. "About how we raised you girls. About the patterns we created." She pulled out an old photo from her purse. Emma and me as children, dressed up for Easter. "Look at this picture. Even then, Emma's throwing a tantrum because she wanted your hat and you're just quietly giving it to her." "That's what I was supposed to do," I said. "Keep the peace. Take care of my little sister." "No," Mom's voice broke. "That's what we made you do. We put so much responsibility on your shoulders, even as a child. And Emma, we never taught her consequences, never made her face the results of her actions. I sat down heavily in my armchair. Why are you telling me this now? Because I'm afraid it's too late to fix things. James left Emma yesterday. Despite everything, I felt a pang of sadness for my sister. What happened? He found out more about her lies. Not just about the wedding money, but about everything. Her job, she was fired months ago but kept pretending to go to work. Her savings, she'd gambled most of it away online. Even her designer clothes, all bought with credit cards in his name. Oh, Emma, I sighed. Same old patterns, different victim. She's moved back home, Mom continued. Dad and I, we want to help her, but we don't know how. Not without enabling her further. She looked at me pleadingly. What should we do? I almost laughed at the irony. After years of ignoring my advice, now they wanted it. You need to let her hit rock bottom, I said finally. No more bailouts. No more excuses. She needs professional help, therapy, financial counseling, maybe even addiction treatment for the gambling. But she has to want it. And the loan? Mom asked quietly. The payments start next month. I won't back down on that. Mom nodded slowly. You're right. It's time Emma faced real consequences. She stood up, smoothing her skirt. I'm sorry, Sarah, for everything, for not seeing how much we put on you, for not protecting you the way we protected her. I felt tears threatening but held them back. I don't need protection anymore, Mom. I need respect. I know, and I hope someday we can rebuild your trust. She headed toward the door, then paused. Emma asked about you. She wants to apologize. I'm not ready, I said firmly. Maybe someday, but not now. After Mom left, I sat in my quiet apartment, thinking about everything. Part of me wanted to rush over to my parents' house to help fix things, like I always had. But I knew that would only perpetuate the toxic patterns. Instead, I opened my laptop and started researching therapists. Not for Emma. She would have to do that herself. But for me, it was time to work through my own issues around family, boundaries, and self-worth. The next morning, I woke up to an email from Maria, the catering manager from the wedding. Dear Sarah, I hope you don't mind me reaching out. My staff and I haven't stopped talking about your courage that night. We've seen so many family dynamics play out at weddings, but never someone standing up for themselves the way you did. I know it must have been incredibly difficult. I'm starting a new high-end catering business and I'm looking for investors. Your business acumen, combined with what I've learned about your character, makes me think we could be good partners. No pressure, but I'd love to buy you coffee and discuss it. Best regards, Maria. I smiled as I read the email. Maybe something good could come from this disaster after all. I wrote back accepting her invitation. 3 days later, Emma finally came to see me. I was heading to my car for work when I saw her sitting on the steps of my apartment building. She looked terrible. No makeup, unwashed hair, wearing sweatpants instead of her usual designer clothes. Sarah, she called out weakly. Please don't walk away. I should have kept walking. But despite everything, she was still my sister. 5 minutes, I said, checking my watch. I'm sorry, she burst out. I'm so sorry. For the wedding, for the money, for everything. James left me, my friends won't talk to me, and I can't even afford my own apartment anymore. Are you sorry for what you did, or sorry for the consequences? She flinched. Both? I don't know. I just know I need my big sister. No, I said firmly. What you need is to grow up and get help. Real help, not just another bailout. I will, she promised. I'll get therapy, I'll stop gambling, I'll get a job. Please just help me one more time. The old Sarah would have given in, would have written another check, made another excuse, fixed another mess. But I wasn't that person anymore. The loan payments start next month, I said. If you're serious about changing, start there. Show me you can be responsible for once in your life. How am I supposed to make the payments? I don't have a job. That's not my problem anymore, Emma. Figure it out. As I walked to my car, she called after me. Don't you love me anymore? I turned back. I'll always love you, but I love myself more. 6 months have passed since Emma's disastrous wedding. Life has changed in ways I never expected, mostly for the better. The investment in Maria's catering business turned out to be one of my smartest decisions. She's incredibly talented and business savvy, and our partnership has already started turning a profit. More importantly, I've gained a true friend, someone who values me for who I am, not what I can give. My therapy sessions have been eye-opening. I've learned that my need to fix everything, to be the responsible one, stems from childhood patterns I'm finally breaking. Setting boundaries isn't selfish, it's necessary for healthy relationships. As for my family, well, that's complicated. Emma made exactly 2 loan payments before defaulting. I followed through with legal action as promised. The court ordered her wages to be garnished. Once she actually got a job, that is. It took 3 months of living with our parents, with no money and no enablers, before she finally hit that rock bottom I talked about. Last week, Mom called to tell me Emma had checked herself into a treatment program for gambling addiction. She's also seeing a therapist twice a week and working as a receptionist at a local dental office. It's not the glamorous life she always wanted, but it's honest work. She asks about you, Mom said during our weekly phone call. These calls are new, part of our attempt to build a healthier relationship. She's doing the work, Sarah, really trying to change. I'm glad, I replied, and I meant it. But I'm not ready to see her yet. Mom accepted this without argument, another change. My parents are in therapy too, finally confronting their role in creating our family's dysfunction. Dad's blood pressure is better now that he's not constantly stressed about Emma's latest crisis. James and Emma's divorce was finalized last month. He sent me a kind email afterward. Thank you for opening my eyes that night. It was painful, but you saved me from years of lies and manipulation. I hope you know you did the right thing. I do know. Despite the drama, despite the viral videos and family fallout, I know I did the right thing. Not just for me, but for everyone involved. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do for someone is to stop protecting them from the consequences of their actions. Yesterday, I received a letter from Emma, handwritten, not a text or email. Her therapist had suggested it as part of her recovery. Dear Sarah, I've written this letter 100 times in my head. Every time it sounds inadequate. How do you apologize for a lifetime of taking someone for granted? For treating your biggest supporter like your personal bank? For humiliating the person who sacrificed everything for you? I'm not asking for forgiveness. I haven't earned it yet. I'm not asking for another chance. I've had too many already. I'm just telling you that I understand now. I see the pain I caused, the trust I broke, the relationships I destroyed. I'm working on myself, really working, not just pretending like I used to. It's hard and uncomfortable, and some days I want to run back to my old patterns. But then I think of you, of your strength that night at the wedding, and I keep going. I hope someday we can have a relationship again. Not the old kind where you give and I take, but something new, something healthy. Until then, I want you to know that my big sister is still my hero. Not because you kept saving me, but because you finally stopped. Love, Emma. I folded the letter carefully and put it in my desk drawer. Maybe someday I'll be ready to respond. For now, I'm focusing on my own life. Maria and I are expanding the catering business. I'm dating someone new, someone who admires my strength instead of trying to exploit it. My savings account is recovering, and this time, the money is for my future, not someone else's emergencies. Last week, I got invited to a cousin's wedding. The invitation arrived in a cream-colored envelope, my name spelled correctly, my seat assigned at a table with family, not the kitchen staff. I smiled as I marked attending on the RSVP card. Some people say I was cruel to expose Emma at her wedding, to demand repayment, to refuse to bail her out again. But sometimes love means being cruel to be kind. Sometimes the best thing you can do for someone is to stop making their problems disappear. I'll always love my sister, but now I love myself more, and that has made all the difference.